Welcome to Mars. My name is Gribble. This is Two Cats. Check it.
What is going on?
Mars needs moms, so the aliens are stealing them from Earth to raise their own kids.
Who knew mothering was so hard?
I gotta save my mom. How do we get past all those Martians?
Duh. Fire butt blasters! This thing is going on my Christmas list.
I kind of just want to go ahead and get to the porn version of this movie. Mars needs MILFs. You know, I mean, I couldn't help but think about it watching this movie, although the fact they had what's-her-name doing the voice of the mom didn't exactly help my little fantasies. It was at a Joan Cusack.
Oh, you don't have a Joan Cusack fetish?
No, I did most specifically do not.
I just figure quantum physics being what they are, there has to be somebody, mathematically, there has to be somebody who's attracted to Joan Cusack.
You would think, right?
I don't know who it is, but
is she married to someone? And she's
Okay.
got to have married someone by now, right?
Well, maybe
Okay.
he's the one.
No, she is. She's married to some guy who doesn't even have a Wikipedia entry. That's how sad that is.
Loser.
I've got a Wikipedia entry. No, I don't, but I'm almost due. I'm this close.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm right on the verge of a Wikipedia
Well,
entry.
I got to say that the CG version of Joan Cusack, not so bad looking.
No, when you first see her, you're like, wow, that is definitely a C-MILF. Cartoon mom I'd like to fuck.
Well, it's funny because it's like, you know, like through the Zemeckis vision, they take the actors and just make like younger versions. Except, like, okay, I remember Joan Cusack when she was young. She still never looked that good.
Yeah. No, that is true. She never did. And it's like all cleaned up, nicer looking version of these actors. Well, okay, maybe not of Dan Fogler. He actually looks worse here than he does in real life.
Which is hard to do.
Yeah, not so easy. But you know what's really the most distressing thing about Mars Needs Mom is that the lead character, the 9-year-old kid Milo, who goes off to Mars to try and recapture his mom from the Martians who've stolen her so that they can rape her brain and
wow, that does sum it up too,
and use it to power their nanny bots to raise their children because they don't like children very much. But the voice of Milo, or you look at Milo and you're like, wow, he looks exactly like a young Seth Green.
Yeah,
sure enough, Seth Green played the role of Milo
in the motion capture suit.
1 point. And the last minute, apparently, they replaced him with a Seth Dusky, some nobody kid.
They just said, like, we need another Seth.
Yeah, who is awful. Actually, I thought he was terrible in the part. They said test audiences said you didn't think the kid sounded young enough. I don't know.
Why? I mean, Seth Green, he's only 40 years old. Why wouldn't he sound like a 9-year-old?
Hey, man, lots of voice actors who do kid voices are old, and you know this.
Yeah, and they're mostly women.
There is that. But, you know, even so, if you're going to make that change, you could, A, take Seth Green's name off the credits, which they did not do.
Well,
B,
he did all the acting.
Yeah, or B, take him off of the like mocap sequences they were showing at the end, where he was delivering the dialogue that was not used.
I think they were stuck. They couldn't get out of it. But what I'd like to know is, did they let Seth Green know this before he went to the premiere? Could you imagine him pulling up on a red carpet? He's dating some model who's, 4 feet taller than him, feeling like a big shot, and he sits there and it's not his voice.
This is exactly why I don't show girls I bring home spill cartoons.
Because you never know. You're like, oh, I got a great joke here.
Yeah.
And then Korey takes it.
Wait, I said that joke. Not in this version. Reality is fluid.
All right, so what do we say about this movie?
Well, let's just go back to the plot here real quick, just to say, all right, so his mom gets abducted, and this is right after he tells her off. Like, I don't even want you. I don't love you. You suck. You're terrible. You slept with all my friends. You're a shitty mom.
Cyrus, I'd like to be clear about something here, because I heard the co-host in Corey's review of it, where, it is about like, man, the thing he said to his mom, you should never say something like that. And the mom's, her feelings hurt. She cries. What he said, yeah, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a toss-off line. I mean, she starts it with, well, I wish I didn't have to be the nagging mom. Well, maybe I wish I didn't have a mom. And she just falls apart.
Yeah. But to be fair, I actually bought that. In fact, that relationship, based on that sequence there, with their kid's reasoning for his guilt, is one of the only genuine things I thought in this whole film.
The reasoning for his guilt, feeling bad about that, I did get. To me, like, they rushed through that so quickly
They did.
that I was like, This reminds me of those Jerry Springer fights where somebody was told, okay, you guys need to fight quick. So the first thing somebody says, like, oh, nice shoes, bitch, I'll cut you. And they breaks into a fight. It's like a fight or even hurt feelings. There's a bit more of a progression there.
Sure, but at the same time, we are dealing with a kids movie.
Yeah, it's a kids movie. It's like, hey, these are kids.
We got to get to the lines.
Yeah, we got to get to the broad strokes and start getting to the falls.
Yeah, and they're just not graceful about it at all.
Not at all.
You look at a movie like Up, which is incredibly graceful about the way it approaches its characters and the relationship between them and the way it gets to finally the big cartoony part of it. You're like, okay, that's how you do it. This is not how you do it. Even so, that was far from a complaint at the time. I was like, all right, well, it's not really, nothing here is making me laugh. But I got to tell you, visually, except for the fact that they've got that Robert Zemeckis, dead stare, uncanny characters who live in the uncanny valley thing going on. Except for that, everything else was pretty nice looking. I mean, it was pretty sparkly.
You know what? I'd even go so far as to say, as those Zemeckisms go, this one had a bit more character. Like they're getting better and better with each one of mimicking human emotion. And this one, I was looking at the expressions through a lot of it, and I'm like, they are learning to convey more emotion. I only wish the actors could have done the same.
What do I feel like, decades from now we'll be put on trial even for having this conversation after the robot wars.
I know.
They rise up against us. You knew this was coming. You were one of the people who should have warned us. Like, oh, we had a podcast. What do you offer me? We did. Anyway, so he ends up, after the Martians come in the middle of the night to take his mom, he manages to sneak onto their spaceship kind of by accident and ends up on Mars, where he is set up almost immediately into a prison cell, and he escapes, and guards start shooting at him to kill. And I was kind of wondering, wow, this is kind of dark for a kids movie. Yeah. And he escapes with a help of a disembodied voice that says, jump in this chute and go this way. And it turns out the voice belongs to this rather sizable gentleman who lives in a junk heap underneath the planet, or inside the planet, or I guess everything's inside the planet. A giant junk heap world. It's played by Dan Fogler, as a character named Gribble, and he's just like this. He's like every nerd you've ever seen that was over 50 at a sci-fi convention.
He made me think of the humans in Wall-E. Like he's just one of those out there just floating around till he just became huge.
And he's just excited as hell that there's another human there. He's like, we're going to be best friends forever. We're going to hang out. We're going to play video games. He's the symbol for everything the kid thought he wanted, basically. I mean, there's even a line earlier where his mom's like, where kid's complaining about having to take out the trash. And he's like, the mom's like, what would this world be like if everybody just left their trash everywhere? He's like, it sounds cool to me.
Yeah.
And you see it. And then he's like, oh, it's
foreshadow.
So cool. And the kid's like, but I don't understand why I have to do work and stuff. Why can't I just watch television and play games all day? Because you end up like Dan Fogler. and no one wants that.
Yeah, and to recap, anyone who missed our review of Take Me Home Tonight, Dan Fogler, it's his mission in life to be the other Jack Black, the try harder and yet be much less funny Jack Black. At a time when we're sick of Jack Black, we're even more sick of Dan Fogler.
Yeah. Although these two are starting to get to a point where they're going to dance in the middle here somewhere. Like, you just can't tell anymore. I don't know. I mean, Jack's got, Tenacious D always love him for the Tenacious D, but
yeah, we always got the D.
But then you got the mountain of shit other than that.
But it's like, but with Jack Black, you can still throw your mind back to Tenacious D, or School of Rock,
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah,
he's got some good stuff. Dan Fogler, still working on it.
Yeah, he's got Balls of Fury, and that,
which even that was like a 2.5-star success.
Exactly.
I think he's an actor that easily could be in a good movie. He just hasn't been. So
I've seen him in a good movie. What was the Woodstock movie? Finding Woodstock.
Oh yeah, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was a great movie, but he was like the one part of it that I thought, wow, I don't like this character, and I could easily see this movie. He could be cut from it, and it wouldn't hurt it at all.
And sure enough, here he's playing another man-child.
Yes,
to the point where he's just got non-stop vomited dialogue. I mean, it's just
he just screams everything,
and he's just babbling constantly of stuff that unfortunately is just not that funny. It's not funny at all. It's like, okay, he's a big nerd. We know people like this. We've had to meet a few of them at spill conventions, and and they're not assholes or anything.
No,
by any means. So you can't be mean to them, but at the same time, your brain starts to like fuzz over with like a milky foam starts extruding from between your synapses as you listen to this non-stop rant. You know what I'm talking
Yes, I do. It's exhausting.
about. It is exhausting.
Hey, brother! Yeah, you're not a Martian. You're a kid. Man, it's been so long since I've seen another kid. Hey! I'm excited too, buddy. My name is Gribble. Gribble the First. What's your handle? Oh, let me guess. Maverick.
No,
Wolfman?
no,
Iceman.
no.
Did you see Top Gun?
It's Milo.
Milo. Hello, how you go, Milo? How about I call you my brother? Check it.
And this is like he is the very image of this guy. So right off the bat, you don't really like him. And in fact, even in the movie, as he's, volunteering to help the kid find his mom, it's really just a setup so the kid can fail and he'll come back and they'll live happily ever after in their weird pedo bear relationship.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it turns out there's an alien who stumbled upon some human transmissions.
Well, now, Cyrus, if I may correct you, they're on her planet, so they are the aliens.
That is true. Thank you very much for the semantical error fixing. Played by D. Bradley Baker. And, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. Played by Elizabeth Harnois. I don't know. Harnois, I suspect.
Harnois, that sounds like...
But she's seen some human television show transmissions of something that I can only assume was that 70s show. I'm not sure. Some of a bunch of hippies painting flowers. And she's decided she's going to be space hippie.
Yes.
And so there you've got your little kernel of a healthy rebellion.
Well, I suppose it makes some kind of logic. I mean, the Martians have so polluted their planet, and who else is going to come out and support the green but the hippies?
Yeah.
She's like, you know what? The solution is to turn us all into hippies.
Yeah, but what an oddly... It's such an odd thing, because I as much as I was trying to stop from reading a subtext here to this film, I couldn't help it, because when you put it, here's a society comprised entirely of women who take their men and they drop them on the trash below to say men are useless.
Yeah.
Right? We don't even need them. We're great by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so this hippie discovers that at one time there were families, and that's the way it's meant to be. One man, one woman, one child. And they, they're never actually saying it that specifically, but it's enough where you go, I think I know where this movie is going. I don't want to say it's like blatant or enough to even really offend anybody, but it's kind of a subtle and subtly nefarious about its message.
I mean, it's kind of like when Carlyle brought out how the ant bully was, promoting the Communist Manifesto, and you hear somebody say that, you're like, dude, settle down. But when you actually see the movie and you look at it, it's like, it's not like he's wrong.
Yeah.
It's just not all in your face where it's over incompetent.
It's nothing to get upset about.
Right.
Basically. But I can see it's hard to miss if you're looking for it. And I think that's the case here. It just felt that it was weird that it was the hippie characters promoted.
Oh, well, you know what? It is one of those kind of twisted, let me pretzel bend this agenda thing, and the dynamic. Well, you know what, Cyrus? I don't think it's that hard to see it, because one of my big problems with this movie, of which there are numerous, but one is that it's very empty.
Yeah.
It's like, as great as these characters look, every scene, there's not much, there's like so little in the background. There's some nice design going on, but very sparse overall. Dialogue, super sparse.
Yeah.
Most of the dialogue comes from Dan Fogler's rambling, which is probably a bunch of improv and not even that good. And
all the kid has to say is over and over again, I gotta save my mom. That's really his primary and almost only line of dialogue.
Yeah, it really is. We gotta save my mom. We gotta save my mom.
Yeah.
And then once they're there, so much of it is just running around. It's running away from being shot. It's falling down one slide after another. Oh, we gotta go. We gotta run. Tiny bits of dialogue and then go. But the plot itself, just about the simplest plot I've ever seen. And it cracks me up that, this was one where Disney was like, hey, let's John Lasseter's all like, sure, go for it. Whereas Romeo and Juliet, which I thought was a much superior movie,
Yeah.
they wanted to dump.
Yeah, I don't get that either because you're right, there's just not that much depth going on here on any level. There are some moments visually that I was impressed with. Where I was
Sure.
like, that was a really neat looking effect. I wish I had been high for it. And the 3D isn't really that impressive. I was more impressed by the 3D in the Pirates of the Caribbean 4 trailer, which I was actually pretty damn
Okay,
impressed with.
I got there late for that, but I walked in on Kung Fu Panda, and my first thought was like, man, I wish they weren't making a sequel to this. I bet the sequel is just going to be everything I thought the first one was going to be. But as I sit there watching, I was like, the 3D in this is badass.
The 3D was badass, I know. And so I saw 2 trailers in a row with this great 3D. I was like, wow, I'm actually looking forward to both those movies in 3D. And Mars Needs Moms never does much with it.
No,
it
doesn't.
It felt like I forgot it was in 3D.
I know.
You know, it was one of those films. I mean, even though there's lots of, stuff popping and flying down tunnels and lots of roller coaster-y type experiences, none of them really are that impressive or sell you on it or you make use of the 3D to give you a special experience because of it.
Well, when you look at the these new Zemeckis Vision cartoons, I mean, we always jump on the fact that the characters just kind of look dead because they aren't good at showing emotion.
Sure.
But he always crowbars in scenes for characters to go on some roller coaster ride.
Yes.
It's like the biggest problem with his A Christmas Carol is that he throws in that whole, he's got to shrink down and fall through pipes and go through all this.
Just crowbarred in.
Yeah.
Even though it did look good. I'll hand him that. It did. It looked good.
It did.
But it was still A Christmas Carol, and why is it there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, so here, I guess it's no surprise that he does it, but it's just for so much of it. It's just a point where it's just killing time. It's like
it's a fallback position to fill time, and it's like that's the best you got visually? Like, well, I can make people that are kind of gross to look at, and I can make lots of stuff like people are riding a weird roller coaster type effect, and that's what I do. I'm Robert Zemeckis, and I use American Express.
So okay, so what do you think about the female Martians?
I thought I was surprised that the character of Dan Fogler, who ends up falling for one of them, wasn't a black man because they had some serious badonkadonk going on. I mean, it was like the first thing you thought was, it was like, Jesus Christ, look at the ass on that.
I know.
alien. That chick is a dump truck. It's kind of hot, but still.
It is a weird, like at first you're like, they're kind of odd. Then she turns a profile, you're like, whoa, look at the onion on that chick.
Yeah.
then they pay him back. It's like, oh, well, she's got feet like a deer that bend back. I don't know about this. But then she turns around again like, I guess probably still manage to get in there somehow.
Yeah, baby, you just keep facing that way.
It's funny. You know what? I was thinking about in the very beginning when the Martians are like, they're scanning, looking for the perfect mom because they don't want just any mom. They like see some moms who let their children throw tantrums and they're like, no, not you. And somehow the Joan Cusack mom, they're like, okay, well, she got the kid to actually take out the trash.
So she must be a good mom.
Yeah. And look, you knew I was going to say this. They clearly didn't look at any. You saw how they didn't look at any black moms.
Yeah,
because it would have just been her slapping the kid in the mouth. I know if it had been my mom, it would have been no like, "Hey, would you take out the trash?" I don't want to pout. All right, I'll do it.
Well, they did just randomly pick a spot in America to look, and it was probably somewhere in Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they may have looked before we did. Like, apparently, this is all they got is white people.
Okay, yeah, if they looked at Connecticut, that would have been all they. They had a choice of. I just feel they looked at a black mom and went like, we don't want our robots doing that.
Oh, that one's already burned. No, one of the funny things that was making me laugh, and then the movie itself acknowledged it, but never did anything to deal with it, is a message it sent out to kids, which is like, okay, so if you're a good kid, and you do what your parents tell you, and you love and respect them, Martians are going to come and take them away. Wait, what? Where's the positive message here? Yeah,
man, you saw a lot in this.
Well,
and I'm not denying that stuff is there.
They even acknowledge it themselves.
Yeah.
They say it. They're like, oh, I was a good kid, and they still took my mom. It's like, okay, now here's where we say, really, you got nothing? Why'd you even bring it up then?
We know it's got flaws. We'll show you what they are.
I know. It's like, here they are. So they didn't put a real person in it standing next to one of the characters. Go, see? Huh? It's the same, right? No?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's, watching it, I can see why they didn't give us a proper screening for it. I still expected better. I honestly, I didn't really enjoy any of it.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same, right there with you. I wanted to. Because usually even the weakest of these type of films, I can find something that I actually genuinely enjoy in it. And the closest I can say is that, like I said, the initial issue that he has with his mom and the moment of resolution of that later in the film I felt a little verklempt, a little tiny bit verklempt.
Okay.
Just a bit. Because there was, a time in my own life when I've said something really shitty to one of my parents and I immediately knew how badly I'd fucked up and I watched them cry.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I said something that shitty, and I was like, this is one of those moments that still, like, here it is, like 30-some years later.
Yeah, something like that'll do it.
Still, like, crystal clear in my memory, and just this, like, of guilt the moment I think about it. It's been apologized for 1 billion times over. But yeah, I can identify with that. I'd be like, yeah, kids, don't do that. Don't talk smack to your parents. It's just, you will, well, assuming you're not a sociopath, you will look back
Right.
with regret. So, other than that, though, what is there? I mean, it's not like I was hating on it. I was just bored.
Yeah, completely, utterly bored, and where it was just really offering me nothing. And it's like, man, I don't want to go some old bullshit on it because it's just first off, it's made for a much younger audience.
Yeah.
But still, it's like I have nothing to recommend it. The only thing, there's one thing I would recommend in it, and I would say if you happen to see this, by all means, stick around for the end credits. Because while most of the time I hate the stuff that's shown at the end credits, this is something I've never seen before, where they act out so much of the movie, where you see the actors in their black mocap suits having to act it out to me, this is, it's odd how you watch these actors have to get dressed up with wires and actually perform the stunts from the movies, in their motion capture suits. And all I could think was like, these have to be like the laziest, shittiest animators ever who couldn't just, make this stuff. It's like at Pixar, they get down and they make it happen without motion capture, and it looks great and it has life to it. And it's like, maybe this is why, because these guys rely so much, and these poor fucking actors who have to deliver this dialogue, which is still bad.
Yeah.
All dressed up in these hot suits, being tossed around on wires. And especially little Seth Green, who, man, I would make fun of him being little, but he is little.
He is tiny.
He really does look like that little Milo kid.
No.
And that Milo might be taller.
He's ridiculously tall. I think he's smaller than Tom Cruise. I mean, that's pretty damn small.
But watching him go through all that, he's the one who gets tossed around the most. And you watch it knowing that none of his dialogue is going in there. He's really selling it. He sounds good, and it's like, kid, they got to cut it all out.
And that just bugs me. I really like Seth Green when you can find him. I mean, Jesus, he could be here right now.
I know.
For all we know.
But yeah, I know. I like him too. I think he's a good actor. He does a lot of cool stuff.
He does. He has a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what baffles me, because I'm like, okay, I know everybody, all right, even really good actors with a really good sense are always looking for something to, put them a little more in the line, in the spotlight.
Yeah.
And Seth Green is one of those guys who's always kind of existed right outside of the spotlight. Like people know who he is, but he's not really a big star. And I think it's partially because, like I said, he's like 2.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
But he's so talented. At the very least, he deserves to be better known as a writer, even. I mean, he's in charge of the Robot Chicken show, which is hysterical.
Yeah.
It's so funny. You go, why did you even say yes to the script in the first place? I mean, you had to have been offered animated scripts before now. Why was this the one that you went, oh yeah, this is the one that...
I just get the impression a lot of times these actors say yes before they've read the script. Or they say, like, I read the script and I thought it was great.
Their agent said, oh, this one's got heat.
Yeah, it's got heat. And maybe the big fallacy is they don't read the script. They don't ever read the script.
Yeah, maybe so.
They pass it on to somebody, or they have a designated reader or an agent who reads it and says, so what do you think? Oh, well, it's got this guy and this guy signed. You should do it. All right. If you say so. Wow. You know what?
So
I just talked myself out. You know what? I was gonna not give it some old bullshit and give it rental, but I'm like, there is actually nothing to warrant that. I got to go with some old bullshit on it.
Wow. I just can't. I know what you mean. It's hard to make that leap, but normally by this point I would say, yeah, you're right, but I can't. It's not quite there. It's a low rental for me. There are redeeming qualities to this here and there, but they're tiny and brief.
Yeah.
But I do suspect that very young children will be taken with its flashiness and
Sure.
its simple to follow storyline and will be indoctrinated into the cult of... No, wait, stop it. Sorry, stop. It's a low rental, and that is what it is. And like I said, hardly wait for the porn version.
And the thing is, folks, it's a 3D movie, so you're going to be paying $12.50.
Yeah.
At the lowest for it.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, at best rental. At best. Do not bother with the 3D.
No.
Unless you want to see that Pirates of the Caribbean and Kung Fu Panda trailer, because I got to admit, those are both pretty damn good trailers. They're probably... I'm sure that Pirates of the Caribbean isn't going to be a good movie. But man, there's a scene where a sword comes out through a door, and I was like... I'd put my hand up to my eye. I was like, oh, God, you got me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, nothing got me in Mars Needs Mom. I wanted to be got, and I was ungotten.
There's nothing thing to say. I'm gonna go tell her I'm sorry. Mom? Mom! Let her go!